clarify for everybody who's listening that what was released yesterday was the instructional schedule. We still have to release our whole comprehensive plan on the Restart and Recover to reopen the district. So what was released yesterday was really just the plan for students being able to attend school in the building or virtual options. But we have a plan that's going to cover things like athletics, before and after care, meals, transportation, all types of things. And that is actually going to be reviewed at the board meeting on Wednesday. So some of those details are still being worked out. The plan is evolving, but it's substantially done. But I would just suggest anyone who's got questions beyond the school schedule that was released yesterday, that I would refer you to Wednesday's board meeting where the entire plan will be reviewed and we'll be able to take questions on it then.
Okay.
Hopefully it makes sense.
Yes. Thanks, Amy. Thank you, Jessica. Anybody else, Mr. Rotolo?
Yes, looks like we have 3 hands raised at this point. Next is Nicole Tierney.
Hi, all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for all you are doing. I know you volunteer and you've done an amazing job. I have, though, written some emails and expressed concerns, and other than one return email, I haven't had the benefit of a response. I am so proud of our students for their voices being heard. I 100% support anti-racism. I'm a volunteer in many fronts in the community and advocate for oppressed populations. But I was also disturbed by a few outlier messages in the protests and asked for a simple denouncement of hate. I am not sure if there's a discrepancy that by denouncing hate, it would impinge somebody's First Amendment speech. But again, this has caused me great pain. It is making it difficult for my child. And I'm just wondering if we could simply do that and move on, because I would very much like to put this to rest and continue to support my board and move forward with no, again, not taking away anything from the rally and the march, but to the extent that taxpayer dollars went there, it was involved with the Board of Ed. Every child, whether not you personally, but somebody perceives it as hate, should feel okay. And mine doesn't right now. And I asked just for a simple denouncement of hate. And instead, it seems like the leaders of that march are getting single-handed communication from all of you when I don't even get a return email. And I'm hurt, and I want our town to move forward. So I hope that you can advise me on that.
Excuse me, Mrs. Rogers, I don't believe that you got the address of the speaker who just spoke. Can the speaker please state her address?
Sorry. Yes, I've lived in Belford for 36 years. My current address is 25 West Park Avenue, Belford, New Jersey, 07718. I have a child that attends Middletown North.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't know how much I should address about that comment. I will say that the Board of Education believes in the First Amendment right of all people. And I will say that the Board of Education, of course, denounces any hate or hate speech. But, we do have to be very careful about infringing on people's First Amendment rights. And we will continue to do so. And I'm sorry if any member of the public has caused you pain with their thoughts, but certainly the Board of Education does not have any signage or any communication that would be based in hate.
Okay.
Who's our next?
Yes, next would be Sue Griffin.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
I also have questions regarding the opening of school. I'm not sure if you'd like me to raise them now, or I'm better off waiting until Wednesday.
Griffin, as I stated before, if it's things that are beyond what was issued in the letter, it's most likely they'll be addressed as we review the whole comprehensive plan. So, I'll leave that up to you, but we are doing a presentation on Wednesday of the plan, and we'll be taking more questions and reviewing things in more detail at that point. This was strictly the instructional schedule.
Okay, then can I just talk to the timeline? I'll leave the specific.
That's up to Mrs. Rogers.
It's public comment. She has her 3 minutes. She can ask or say what she wants.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The timeline, I believe the Wednesday is the 29th, and you're asking for a response for people to decide on remote only by August 4th. Is it possible that we submit all of our questions to you prior to the 29th via email or however? Because that's a very quick turnaround to the 4th to decide on remote only. And a lot of people need to make decisions based on childcare that will affect their finances for the year. So whatever information that you can give us, give the public prior to that, so that they can make appropriate decisions for their family and have those decisions properly laid out so that they can not affect their finances any more than necessary would be greatly appreciated by the public. Thank you.
I'm trying to think how to advise. I would say send the email, and if the questions can be answered, they'll be answered via email. If not, then you'll have to wait till Wednesday. But thank you.
Okay, next is Ellen Boyle.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I have a daughter who attends High School South. Has there been anything brought up as far as an instruction schedule because she attends a trade school?
I believe that they're still working out the details of the vocational schedules.
Yes,
That
we
was
are
the last I
working.
heard. I'm sorry.
Right, we are working with the Monmouth County vocational and other schools to with their schedules as well. But again, it's still not 100% there. I mean, as Mrs. Griffin was saying, that the timeline is short for parents to decide. Our timeline's been short to put all this together too. So it's literally a day-by-day exercise, but yet we are working with the superintendent of the county vocational schools. All of the superintendents in the county are actually in touch through the executive county superintendent to try to coordinate as best we can to accommodate those schedules.
Okay, is there any date as to when that might be available?
I'm sure we're going to be speaking more about it on Wednesday.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I just have a last name for this next speaker. Last name is Ramsey. If they could give us their full name when they come on, that would be wonderful.
Hello, if we could have your name and address, please.
Looks like they're muted, Chris.
Yes.
Your mute button.
Chris, can you unmute the person or no?
I can only ask them to unmute. I can't physically mute this. So let's move on for now. We'll keep them. Okay, and we are going to move on to Laura, and don't quite have a last name. So if they could give us their last name, that would be great. Oh, there is a last name.
Laura Act.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, I'm at 16 Brady Fair Boulevard. So I thank you all. I know this is a monumental task to take on. I do have to say that I'm a little disappointed in the amount of in-person instruction that the kids are going to receive, elementary. I know there are challenges, but there are many other in the state that are providing many more hours of in-person learning. And I guess my question is, why is Middletown unable to do that, even, given that we are going with these like A/B cohorts? It sounds like the children are going to need to spend a lot of their day wearing masks anyway, because of social distancing. And if that is the case, there's no requirement that says there need to be 6 feet and wear a mask. So I guess my misunderstanding is, because the tone of the letter seems to me to be very, you're going to have to wear a mask. If an individual class can't do the 6 feet apart, you're going to have to wear a mask. Why can't we bring the kids back in for a longer amount of time wearing masks? I know it's not ideal, but 8.5 hours of in-person instruction for my incoming second grader is just really upsetting to hear. I also wanted to know, and I know this probably has to come from the DOE, but there have been revised guidelines set by the CDC. And I hope that those guidelines will be taken into consideration. And then my other question is, why are the kids only going a half day? I know it had something to do with lunch, but I don't understand why they can't eat lunch in the classrooms, especially the younger ones. I know they mentioned the grab and go, but are our little ones going to school for 4.5 hours and not eating anything? I don't understand why they can't be in there the extra 2 days. And then I guess my other question would be, why is the Wednesday virtual for everyone? Why can't we do an alternating Wednesday with the children? Like, I just want to get my kid back into school as much as physically possible.
Amy, I don't know if you want to speak to any of that.
We do understand there are going to be districts doing things in different ways across the state. Different districts have different capabilities with their facilities. They have different class sizes already. So there is going to be some disparities between the in-person instruction depending upon the district. We've taken the last several weeks to look through this, and this is the plan that, we're looking to do to start the year. But, I will also call everyone's attention to the fact that it's a phased in plan. So while we may be starting the year with the 2 cohorts going 2 days and 2 days with the all-day virtual on Wednesday, the plan is to step through the process and increase the instructional time in the building, and with the target being eventually getting back to, students being in school in some semblance of a regular, what we call our regular schedule, 5 days a week with extended days. The lunches do pose a challenge for us. We don't have the ability to have everyone social distanced and have their mask off and eat, just like the same reasoning is why the restaurants have not been opened, yet here in New Jersey. So, we face the same challenges in the school district. So at this point, that's why we went with the shorter day, where, we are hoping, again, as the timeline was laid out, to get to a place where we can have full days and we can start serving lunch in school and extend the time. But that is a challenge for us to be able to do that. Masks are not they're a help, but if you can't achieve the social distancing, it becomes a problem, to just have everybody sitting on top of each other, even with wearing the masks. There's just, it's not, it's not a situation that we're looking to, have in all of our classrooms. We have, classrooms that have, at the elementary level, up to 25 students in them. So, between that and adding the teacher into the room and, sometimes a co-teacher or paraprofessionals. It's, it's just not something we have the space for. And, we do understand other districts are able to do this a little bit differently than us, but they have, different class sizes. Some of their schools have more excess capacity. They're able to spread out more. This is what, we've been working very hard to try to come up with as much in-person time as we can. And we think that, taking this approach and phasing the students back in is a responsible way to do it. And, a way to give all the kids, some time in the building if they choose, at least to start the year. Again, we're going to be going over this more on Wednesday as well, but, we all want to see we all wish this wasn't going on. And, we're trying to do our best to, be in compliance with all the guidelines and recommendations while, trying to maximize the educational instruction and experience for all of our students and keep everybody safe.
Hi, this is John. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I'll be honest, I don't know if we have the right people on. I know, no offense, Amy, I don't know if we have everyone on to answer questions about the reopening plan. I don't, is Dr. George or Kim or anybody else on? I feel like we're answering a lot of questions for a lot of things that will be discussed next week. Not that what we're saying is incorrect, but I just want to make sure that, one, we're talking about it. Maybe I think we're supposed to be talking about agenda topics in this first part. And secondly, we have the right people on to answer some of these questions so people get, consistent answers.
Well, this public comment is for any topic, but I agree, Mr. Little. I mean, we are giving a whole presentation on Wednesday, and this again, this letter that went up was just for the schedule.
It's not only that, but I don't know if we have like all the people on. Who
No, we don't. We
answer
don't.
questions.
Right.
I don't mind answering. So I think we should clarify that because I want to make sure that people get the answers that they need, and these are some very important questions about vocational school, about the timeline of when decisions about virtual need to be made. So let's also sort of maybe caveat or qualifier statements that some of the folks, I know Amy, you're really working on various people that we were clear on that.
So if I may, Mrs. Rogers, and I think Mr. Little makes a great point. Well, first, Mrs. Doherty is doing a phenomenal job of stepping in and attempting to be transparent and respond to the public's questions. As indicated, this is a special meeting for the purpose of personnel and the superintendent search and appointment process. The public comment period.
And I also want to point out, folks ask questions, we can always get back to make sure we obviously record these so we can come back and make sure if there's any other clarifying points. So I don't want to discourage people from asking questions, just want to point out.
No, I don't disagree.
Right,
I would much rather present this in the context of the presentation that we're doing on Wednesday. And it's
Okay.
not that we don't want to answer questions, but
Absolutely
I
fine.
think that once everybody hears the whole plan and the reasoning that went behind it, it will clear up a lot of these questions. I'm not in disagreement of that.
So, Mrs. Rogers, what I was going to suggest was, to Mr. Little's point, was perhaps any questions about the school reopening, kind of take them under advisement.
Okay.
And the administration can respond to them or incorporate responses into their presentation later in the week.
Great. Chris, how many more do we have who want to speak? We only have about 10 more minutes left.
It looks like we have the 3 hands that have been
Okay.
raised, and I think one of them, Laura Apt, has commented already. So if we want to save her until the
Okay.
end and get to those who have not.
Yes, so what I would like to do is extend public comment to hear just those 2 speakers who haven't spoken yet, and then to end public comment there.
Okay. So we'll move on to, I just have a last name. It's
I think I
Rauch.
need to make, Chris, I think I need to make a motion for that, right? I'd like to make a motion to extend the public comment time to hear the 2 callers who have not spoken yet.
Well, Mrs. Rogers, we haven't gotten to the 30-minute mark yet, so we can go ahead and in the ordinary course right now.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Last name is Rauch.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How are
Hi there. How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
Can we have your first name, if you don't mind?
Sure. My first name's Christina.
Great. Thanks.
So my question is, I know you guys, so I just want to understand what you guys just said. So we're going to be giving you our questions, and the questions that we're posing today will be addressed on Wednesday. Is that how it's going to work?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I guess the virtual learning part of it. So yes, there's going to be 2 days in school, but trying to understand how the virtual learning is going to be set up. I guess it was laid out in the letter stating that there was going to be streaming classrooms instead of the format that was done in the spring, where it was more like there was a classroom for us to go in, do our assignments on a flexible schedule. And that was a concern for us on multiple levels. One, streaming the classrooms. I'm unsure of how that's going to be effective in grades K through 3. I know that sitting my kid in front of a computer screen for 4 hours watching a classroom is not going to give them the education that I feel like they deserve, especially at such a young age. So I definitely want that to be clarified. Like, is there a way for me to opt out for streaming the classroom and still be a part of virtual learning? So that was one segment of my question. And then the next part of my question was, there were a group of parents who were, trying to be creative and trying to come up with ideas to help their kids grow and continue to grow through this really tough time. And so we were forming like little groups of children that we felt, if they were in the same grade, they would be in the same neighborhood, and they've been like cohorting together already, that we could keep them together. And on these virtual days, divide and conquer. Like, I would take one week or whatever it was, however it worked for the families, to keep my kids with other children their age on the virtual days and be able to do a more flexible virtual learning so that they're getting what they need every day, 5 days a week. And what we ran into is with no requests and, keeping it separate. I understand for like the ease of your planning that it's easy to just, okay, these letters are going here and these letters are going here. But if we could be a little bit more flexible with that, when there's groups that are trying to stay safe and they're trying to continue learning, if there was any sort of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, any more flexibility there, that would be great. So those are my two questions, mainly the virtual learning, and is there an opt out to streaming classroom for privacy and so on? And then the flexibility of forming the pods, forming these little groups of kids who want to continue to learn. I have a first grader and a second grader, so it really affects me. Like the littles, I feel like need a little bit more attention, and the plan really didn't give us options for them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Kate Farley.
Hi, thanks very much for taking the time. I just had a quick question. I won't, get into the stuff with the plan. I understand we're going to discuss it in a lot more detail on Wednesday, but I guess my questions were sort of twofold. First being, do you intend to have enough time for public comment on Wednesday to allow everyone who wants to speak to be able to speak? And because I know that, was sort of a problem the last meeting. And my second question being, if our questions that we have are not answered through the presentation and we raise those questions during the public comment period, will you be prepared to provide answers then? Or will we again be told, submit them and we'll do our best to respond to them? And then, many of us feel like these questions go unanswered. So those are just
Rogers, may I respond on behalf of the board?
Yes.
Okay, so Mrs. Farley, a good question. The board operates in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act by setting aside a portion of the meeting for public comment. The board has a policy which it has adopted in accordance with state ethical guidelines and rules and regulations, whereby the public comment period is 30 minutes. And each speaker gets 3 minutes. So that is in compliance with the law. The board can, at its discretion, extend that time. However, it may and or does have the right to limit it to that period. within the confines of the policy that it has adopted and that it agreed to operate in accordance with its own very policy. To the extent there are questions that cannot be answered just based upon the availability of information, the uncertainty of information, because this is an ever-moving target, as you may have seen by the recent press conference from the governor, somewhat changing the requirements for school reopening, allowing parents the option for remote instruction, as well as confidentiality, collective bargaining agreements, etc. So some questions may not be able to be answered on the spot. However, to the extent that there isn't enough time, members of the public are free to contact the superintendent of schools by phone, by email, in person to ask those operational questions. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now that we're done with public comment, I would like to make a motion to adjourn to go into executive session for matters of personnel, specifically the superintendent hire and contract.
Thank you. Ms. Rogers, just add that minutes will be taken and released to the public if and when the need for confidentiality no longer exists, and action may be taken by the board when it reconvenes in public session. Thank you.
I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thanks, everybody.
How about getting closed session?